Alrighty guys, welcome back to the show. We all love to scroll through the internet and randomly find a new game that would seem intriguing enough to invest our time in, just to later find out that, in the time being, it has been completely abandoned and left cold dry. Don't we love when that happens? Nothing hurts more than finding a game that genuinely seems great, but just to later find out that it has been abandoned by the developers themselves. No warning shots, just a simple silence. So in today's video, I decided to gather a list of games that could have been great on paper, but unfortunately due to the lack of inspiration or funding, they came crumbling down just as quickly. At number 1, we have Frozen Flame. This was the game that always struggled with the combat system before anything else. I thought the art style was a new addition to Valheim franchise. This game was clearly inspired by Valheim, and they decided to implement a semi-similar concept, but perhaps with a more refined art style. It wasn't anything crazy to write home about, but it did come off appealing to many players, and perhaps that's the reason why the devs were very stressed developing their game in the first place. The simple demand for Frozen Flame grew, and people were getting pretty furious about the combat being very janky. A lot of promises were made with this one, but unfortunately nothing ever happened. The combat in Frozen Flame was by far the worst combat I have ever encountered in any game, besides maybe Corbor, and it was clearly a title that just simply could not live up to its expectations. At number 2, you guessed it, Corbor. This game truly made me very upset. I was pissed, and I felt betrayed when I read their post that was made on their Discord, which later made a gradual transition to the rest of the people on Steam forums. Corbor was developed by a German company, and looking back at their art style and uniqueness, that seemed genuinely out of heart, and I was sold by it. Corbor is just a simple, pure example as to how you can have a really good, incredible art design team, and yet if your devs suck at doing what they do, no cute art will ever save your game. It can only pull you so far, you guys. They had a really good detailed roadmap which was convincing enough for us to understand that there was a bright future for this game, but unfortunately it could not be any further from the truth. When the game was released in early access, the optimization was horrific for this game, leading up to the combat being just god-awful. The only thing that Corbor had going for it was art textures and unique character designs, which genuinely did look super good. They promised to fix their game, but as soon as they hit 1.0, they immediately made an announcement stating that the studio is shutting down. Which means I will take your money and you close your eyes and you don't ever think about us ever again. They're scumbags and I will never trust that studio ever again. Number 3, Miscreated. Miscreated was a fun open world survival game while it lasted, but unfortunately it still makes this list, which is very unfortunate. For a while, Miscreated did have a steady player base and a fully dedicated community backing this game up for a little while, but I think the vision for this game was short-lived. Developers didn't seem to be too invested in keeping this game alive and producing content for this game for very long in the longevity. Although this game was very well respected among survival fans, the outcome did come off very shocking for everyone, and it was just one of those things where nobody saw it coming. And number 4, we have Among Trees. This game was such a beautiful title when it comes to aesthetics. It was truly one of a kind, and although technically these guys ended up fully releasing their game, so I guess in the way it wasn't abandoned in the sense of walking away and just not saying anything. But because this game was so short and didn't have much content available for the player to truly enjoy it, I mean, you could probably finish the whole game in under 3 hours. Yeah, that's pretty little. Extremely small and definitely not worth the $17 asking price. These developers simply didn't want to invest into their game a whole lot, at least not any more than they had to, despite the fact that this game was visually very attractive to a lot of people, and people truly wanted more of it. Once again, although this is technically a fully released game, the 3-hour gameplay loop is just not enough to consider this game a fully developed project. I don't think it should be considered, at least. And this will conclude today's list. There's a lot more abandoned games out there, games like Dead Matter and Boundless, but these 4 games I think were truly very desired by their communities, and that's why I felt the need to address them in this video more so than ever. If there is any other game that comes to mind that rings the bell of being desired but short-lived, feel free to list it down below. And as always, this was your boy Roos, and I'm out. Goodbye.